please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic?
Captain's Log, Subdates 231109.3. Two of Subfleet's exploratory vessels were prematurely detonated by Bork. He parked at his post and accidentally followed through. He will be punished for this and billed for the chair that we are now going to insert up his arse as a consequence. Hello everyone, welcome to the exhibition of stupid people. Today we're going to start, as you may have noticed from the What Should Happen to All Mayo video, yes, nuke it all, I don't care, we're going to start with food, courtesy of a number of videos shared from TikTok, where somebody doesn't quite understand the calories in, calories out, and human metabolism. Yes, so I'm just going to play the first video before we get to the second, a cope video.
People, but a lot of people just don't like to hear it. Calories in, calories out is a proven fundamental.
Do you know the consequences of living in a calorie deficit for too long? You'll end up fat. If your body is in a perpetually starving state, because that's what calories in, calories out is. If you're having a calorie deficit, that means that you are not eating enough to sustain your body. Your brain needs carbs. You need like at least half a loaf of bread a day worth of carbs just to live, just to live. That's laying in your bed doing nothing, just breathing, using air, no moving. So if your body starts getting used to not having enough calories in it, you know what it does? It just makes it come back even stronger because your body is now used to being starving and it thinks that it needs to hold on to weight because you're not giving it enough.
Ooh, there's a lot of misinformation in that. When somebody believes they're so right, yet fundamentally they are wrong. Firstly, calories in, calories out. The daily recommended intake is around 2,000 calories for a typical person. It is recommended that about 1,300 calories at most should be from carbohydrates. That translates to about 225 or 325 grams, so between those two, of carbs a day. Half of a loaf of bread? No, that's not, no. Usually, if somebody has a calories in, calories out approach to their diet or lifestyle, they're doing it because they're either trying to lose a bit of weight or they are trying to bulk, or they keep an eye on it because they want to make sure they are consistent in their weight class, right? Satiety is a separate problem entirely, and it can be mitigated depending on the types of food you eat. One of the best ways of dealing with satiety, even though many will say it's not, is meat. Believe it or not, it really does help. Of course, there are alternatives now and they are getting more popular, but meat is the easiest one. Say for example, you have yourself a steak, it is typically naturally free of carbohydrates, including sugar and fiber. If you, for too long, do nothing all day, lay in your bed, and only eat, you will put on weight. However, weight loss isn't just about being mobile. Believe it or not, you lose a lot more weight from sleeping. Hibernation is a great example of it. That's why bears, for example, eat so much before they can in the winter, they hibernate. They lose a lot of the weight while they're hibernating, but that hibernation keeps them alive. Monitoring calories in and calories out, maintaining an active lifestyle of sorts, will balance you out, and yes, there is a chance you may still get bigger and bigger, but then all you ever have to do is reduce your intake. Reducing the presence of carbs in your diet is a fantastic way of losing weight if you are trying to lose weight. Reducing sugars as well for that matter. Now to the argument of if your body is used to less calories, it'll come back stronger. This is where learning self-control is vitally important. You don't just reduce your calories down to a number and work with that. No, you train, you practice, you stay active. It'll come back stronger when you lose control. There are ups and downs for anyone who wants to change their lifestyle. You seeming smug about that as a point, when it's not as much of a point as you think it is. One commits to changing their life and the results will speak for themselves. Now the user in question, who made the points, Ali, made a follow-up video. It's playing on the screen now, where they point out their profile picture as a hot dog because they're at a Taylor Swift concert. I see carbs. It's not half a loaf though. Now this was also shared to Twitter because it seemed like a redundant point to make in a video, but no doubt it came because they would have received comments about the content that they produce, and of course their profile picture being something you'd notice. First thing I noticed were the biceps. They're quite large, a bit swole. Moving on, let's go to another TikTok video of another individual baiting people out, because the food one is a bit of bait. Misinformation, which is often quite amusing. The following one though is bait because it's intended to aggravate people based on arbitrary factors.
Bruh, y'all were asking for my white people insert collection. I got y'all. We don't gatekeep around here. Y'all can save this video if you want to, or you can pause it just to see. This is A through a little bit of C. So you can save this video or whatever and look at what you need to look at. And then this is C. And I don't know, I don't remember if this is all the way through C or not. But there's a lot of C stuff.
Generally, I make it a point in life not to bait out other people or consider using racial remarks to identify another person. It is not something I'm fond of, and I do believe by doing so, you are latching onto a part of an identity that doesn't need to be highlighted anymore. I think you are reducing the conversation. I think you're reducing the person as well. It is why I vehemently stand against many labels people attach themselves to, or have attached to them by others. Your identity is yours and yours alone. How you choose to address other people, though, is a damning statement about how you think, or how you don't think. In the past, and still to this day, people have insulted each other based on the colour of their skin. There's a word for it. Even if it's done to a white person, it is still that.
There's D, E, and then I don't know if that's the end of F or not. I don't remember. There's G, and again, I don't know if that's all of K or not. It was all of K. And then there's L through not all of M, I'm gonna say. I was right this time, it's not all of M. And then there's the rest of M to, I don't think, all of P.
I'm not going to bother playing the rest because I want to highlight the one I find most egregious. It was anything with mayonnaise in. I know white people do like themselves some mayonnaise, and of course, to those that do like mayonnaise, you will be first when I take over this world. No lives matter and all that. I think when I look at your list, and I did bother to read it all at great length, the one thing I really got from it, you were just desperately trying to think of various adjectives and nouns that you could associate with something that an object that is anyway white or white-ish. So moving on from the racist, let's go to Just Stop Oil, because they've decided they're going to continue with their escalations because they said they would, and they're keeping their promise.
Women did not get the vote by voting.
You are quite right, they didn't. In fact, it took many acts, it took many bills, it took much reform over a period of 10 years from 1918 to 1928 to give every person in this country the right to vote. I say every person because it was the end of World War I that allowed it to happen in the first place, because we lost so much. Parameters for that were very peculiar. Those who served could vote under the age of 21, those who didn't could over the age of 21. Women were held back until 1928, when they received the same terms as men, which was over the age of 21 at that time, which was part of the Representation of the People Act of 1928. I know my history. The art you just smashed up was painted by Diego Velázquez in the 1600s and was attacked by suffragette Mary Richardson with a meat cleaver in 1914 during a protest against the arrest of Emmeline Pankhurst. I see we're trying to emulate the suffragettes here with this. I see that. You are not remotely comparable.
It is time for deeds and not words. It is time to just stop oil.
Politics is failing us. Politics failed women in 1914. If millions will die due to new oil and gas licensing, millions! If we love history, if we love art, and if we love our families, we must just stop oil.
A statement said with no level of irony when members of the UN and the World Health Organization agree that if you simply just stop oil as you demand, millions will die because of it. You mention how politics fails us, yet politics is in almost everything. The conversation and the discourse is a form of politics. What you mean to say is, the green policies pushed by the current government are not doing anything fast enough, and how dare they have to push back on that when our resources are not as plentiful as they once were, or we be as far along with the renewable energies that we don't have access to because we don't have enough landmass to really do what we need to do. We're very deficient and dependent. Do I need to continue with this point? I think the point stands for itself, but I'll finish your video first.
Please go to the next row, please. They don't care about us. They don't care about our futures.
On top of this, recently 20 protesters that Just Stop Oil claim were not their own, yet were called out by the likes of Sadiq Khan and Yvette Cooper, protested near the cenotaph, which, considering the time of the year, is one of the most tasteless things they could think to do. While they deny their involvement, they can't. No, shut up. You are absolutely doing yourselves a rotten one here. Just Stop Oil believe that the police are failing in their attempts to stop Just Stop Oil, and that eventually the government will have no choice but to give in to their demands. The government won't. By the way, the Boykery, high member of it, take priority over a bunch of snobby, unemployed, middle-class twats who get money from their parents, and from wealthy donors who still donate to them. Damaging artwork isn't going to do shit for me, because I couldn't care less about that, unless that artwork has been commissioned by me. The two morons in question who used the safety hammers to break the glass were arrested under suspicion of criminal damage. At present, it is unknown what has happened to Hanan and Harrison, the two people in the video. Moving on.
If, based on the numbers, more Germans died than Brits in World War II, did that mean that the British were wrong in World War II? Because they did. Many more Germans died than Brits. Based on the numbers, does that mean that Britain was wrong in World War II?
Britain wasn't bombing civilians.
From February 1942 until the end of World War II, the United Kingdom made it a point to target industrial sites and civilian areas. This was a strategic move by the British to force the Germans back. Our nighttime RAF raids, called area bombings, were renowned because of those actions. If you're going to go into a debate and then start discussing history that isn't that old, please make it a point to know what you're talking about ahead of time, or you'll end up making mistakes like this. I'm English and not a historian, but I know this because it's a part of my history. On to the final subject, folks. Because they've had a horrendous year this year, it's worth talking about because others still comment on it. Anheuser-Busch's InBev's US sales have continued to plunge. In the last quarter, they tumbled an additional 13.5% because the boycott of Bud Light is still ongoing. Other beers, yes, that they have been trying to plug the gap and have risen to superiority over Bud Light, which is why Bud Light linked up with UFC in the hopes that this would change their fortunes. However, no is the answer to that. Modelo is now the best, or supposedly best, Anheuser-Busch beer. All of them are crap. Of course they are. Whiskey superior. On my wish list. Please send. I'm an alcoholic. I'm not really, but I like to say it. There are cat treats as well, though. The largest brewer in the world said that the US revenues that fell 14% was expected, and that sales in Europe were soft, which is not a surprise, because we Europeans, if we have a beer in front of us, the ABV is at least double what your shite is. Because we don't do light beer. Light beer is embarrassing. We call that a table beer. You give it to children when they're trying to make their way into the adult world, because we don't do light beer. I thought I'd just share this as a last little lull, yes, before we finish. Thank you for listening, everyone. I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like.